I went to go see Shazam opening weekend. I was totally excited to see it, especially after how well DC Studios did with Aquaman and a seemingly new direction that the DCEU was going in. The trailers made it seem like Shazam would be a more family-friendly superhero movie, much lighter than the DC movies that have come before. But the movie still comes off as a dark film made for kids, if that makes sense at all. It reminded me of the live-action kids movies that I've seen as a child back in the 80s and as a teen in the 90s, where certain things such as death and certain themes weren't really hidden from children who were watching the movie. There is a psychological and physical violence throughout the film involving some of the children in this film that to me made me feel that the trailer kind of tricked me into expecting a different kind of movie. Now, this is not to say I didn't like the movie. I enjoyed Shazam very much, more so than my girlfriend did, and I can tell that it was more so than some of the people in my audience. I'm going to attempt to do this review without spoilers, so just in case you're one of the many people who haven't seen this movie yet and don't want to be spoiled, because judging by box office numbers, there is a whole bunch of you out there who haven't seen this film yet. But come back when I'm done and, it'll be good. Be spoiler free. Djimon Hounsou plays the last of a group of 7 powerful wizards who has been wasting away over the years, using all his power to keep the 7 deadly sins at bay. In a desperate bid to find a champion to pass his powers on to, he has been searching for children from all over the world and sending them to his lair to prove that they are pure of heart in order to pass his powers on to. One of those kids is a young Dr. Zavanna in the 1980s who was rejected and has since that day sought to regain the power of the 7 deadly sins instead. The wizard finally finds young Billy Batson in present-day Philadelphia to pass his powers on to. All he has to do is say the name Shazam to turn himself from a 14-year-old kid to the wizard's champion. In the meantime, Dr. Zavanna has already become the champion of the 7 deadly sins, and the story eventually winds down to the final battle. In my opinion, there weren't a whole lot of good guys in the majority of this movie. Dr. Zavanna is a horrible person because his father and his brother are horrible people who abused him verbally as a child at the beginning of the film. Billy runs away from every foster home he has been sent to in a quest to find the mother he lost in an amusement park as a small child. Billy has grown into a teenager who has learned to only look out for number 1 and to forget everyone else. He is such a jerk to everyone around him up until some point in the second act that I have a hard time believing that this kid was actually pure of heart to begin with, which also made me wonder why he made certain decisions in the third act that he would never have done earlier in the film. And the movie gives me no inclination that he made a big change that would lead him to make these decisions. In other words, the only thing that caused him to stop being a jerk to those around him was getting beat up and chased around the city by the bad guy. In this movie, Shazam is played by Zachary Levi, who is supposed to play a 14-year-old boy in the body of a 20-something-year-old man. But he does a pretty good job at this, but it was the Shazam family that really sold that to me. They didn't spend a lot of time on screen, but I enjoyed the time they did have. Bottom line, this is a fun superhero movie, unlike the type of origin movies that we've had from DC so far. It tries its best to be light and jokey, despite the themes of child neglect, fratricide, and patricide. There isn't much action until Dr. Zavanna shows up in the second act, and even then it's really just 2 big fight scenes. It's not really worth watching in 3D, which is how I saw it. You're better off saving your money and watching it in 2D instead. I give it a 3 out of 5.